So next up is sprites. The image manager is, I think I showed you it earlier, but I'll just show you it again. Here's the H file. And then here is the CPP. It's just another asset manager, so it's nothing too exciting to show you. I'll just go down the list of things you want to see. So you want to see the sprites, which is sprite. This is the free-for-all sprite. Here's the H file. It's nothing exciting from what you expected. The destructor works. The draw is called by the screen log, which I'll get into in a minute. The constructor is used using an image or the access to it. Accessors, as you see, destructor. I don't think I have any containers for this. I just create a sprite for it. This is strictly just a sprite. There's no containing of it. And then the only time any of its information is changed, or any of its world, like a world on screen, is changed is when I actually change any information. So that way I'm not constantly in the draw or in the render doing this unnecessary multiplications. So that's the sprite itself. Sprite fonts is also unexciting, or nothing like too out of the ordinary. I get the information, I set the text, I do all this. I get the texture from the TGA, and then I do the XML to collection on the XML, and then so on and so forth. Nothing too crazy here. The only difference I would say is that in your presentation you had load actually return something. So instead I could have just done this const image right here, but in your UML you didn't have that. So I didn't do that. I just have it. You load it and then you get it. And then the free-for-all sprite is created off of this image, which I showed you here. Includes a sprite font asset manager. Yeah, the sprite font asset, and the asset manager is then the manager. The manager is a map, or the container is a map, and all it does is contain that information, set it, do as necessary. Constructor, it's a singleton, yada yada yada. I'll show you the documentation when I'm done with telling you everything. Obviously the map is stored, or the manager is stored on the name of the sprite associated with it. And yeah, sprite string is done. Nothing too exciting. So the only thing is I have a vector, which is just the simplest of the containers, and then the free-for-all sprite, and then the coordinates associated with it. And then in the render function, I go through all the glyphs necessary that is in the container, get the free-for-all sprite, set the information on the axis, and then render it. And then just move and then this is just moving it down the line, so it'll go here to here to here to here to here, depending on the size of the character being used. And then I store that information in this free-for-all sprite, or this container, for that specific sprite string. And then the last one, the thing that kind of holds it all together, is the screen log. The screen log is kind of where I had the most fun. So what I have is I have a map of a string, and then you have the free string sprite that's associated with it. And you can read this if you pause, but I'll give you the gist of what happens is, let's say you want the screen logger to display your position. This specific string is being stored in the screen logger. It's going to be a lot of S's. That's going to sound horrible for you. And when you add it, it goes through, finds that specific string, the specific string that is stored in here, and then modifies this information depending on what is in here. Reading this might be easier, but I save the information, and then I actually do the transferring of args. I actually do the arg like information here, and then you set the render string, which just sets the sprite for all that information necessary. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely different than what you had, I believe. And it works very well because I can have it, as you saw before, it was position, health, and score. If I wanted to, I could remove this guy's position at runtime, and it would run, and then it would scale it accordingly on the map or on the screen. And it's all done by using this specific string associated with, where'd it go? This specific string instead of using it on a full string basis. I recommend looking at this, pausing and looking at this. It'll make more sense. So that is sprites.